Hello, everyone. I am Lori Bloom, co-founder of Gracefully Graying. Welcome to Gracefully Graying live stream. This is a special live stream. We are, just to remind you, we are at Gracefully Graying connecting you to information and resources in Michigan and beyond to help you create and maintain a productive and vibrant life, as we are all gracefully graying. And as always, we thank our sponsors. So enjoy our discussion. Today, we are thrilled to have Jordana Wolfson. Welcome, Jordana.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
And Jordana, you are the founder of Co-Parenting Solutions, and you will explain what that is. But today's topic is how divorce impacts grandparents too, especially during the holiday season, or any holiday time of year or special occasion. So go ahead and briefly introduce yourself and tell us about Co-Parenting Solutions.
Sure. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for asking me to be part of this. I actually started this business about 6 years ago. I am a therapist, and I work with families who are divorced or separated on co parenting. I also provide parenting coordination services for families who are very high conflict and need somebody to help them navigate through raising their children together. And I work on as a mental health coach for collaborative divorces as well. So all divorce all the time.
Oh, okay. So you've got your hands full, obviously, all the
Yes.
time. Um,
Yes.
so because our target audience is the 50 and over crowd, talk about how maybe newly divorced parents and, aside from that, of course, newly divorced grandparents, because they're involved in the family, how can they navigate the holidays if this is a new thing, if this just happened? Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So every family situation is so unique. And it really, there's no one size fits all for everybody. Sometimes a family, even going through a divorce, will choose to still celebrate holidays together and with the extended family and grandparents. And if they are able to do that without there being terrible conflict or tension, it can be a way to ease the transition for the family into the divorced or separated space. And I would encourage grandparents at that time to just be as neutral as possible. It's a very tough situation when your child is going through a divorce, and certainly you want to take care of your own baby and protect them. But the truth is, your baby is an adult and can take care of themselves, but the grandchildren really need you to be a safe landing space for them. And in terms of being a safe landing space, they want to be able to love both of their parents. So they need their grandparents to be as neutral as possible. But if people are able to celebrate together, that's wonderful. If not, it's a time to embrace maybe new traditions, and it may be very painful not getting to be with the children or grandchildren on an actual holiday. But you can always celebrate on a different day, create some new traditions and some new things that you haven't done previously, and that can be very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of also depends on the grandparents' relationship to the parents, let alone the grandkids. But it gets kind of complicated, I would think, correct?
Oh, it can get very, very complicated.
Yeah.
And that's why I always advise grandparents that the most important thing is for them to try to stay out of the conflict. And they can certainly be a listening and a sounding board for their children privately, but for them to directly immerse themselves in the conflict, unless it's absolutely necessary, is something that can really be detrimental to everybody. If they are getting involved, like being a witness in a case with a divorce or something like that, they should really think through if that is actually going to be helpful or more harmful to their family. It's very important for people to try to remain as neutral as possible and not get involved in the conflict. There's a difference between listening to your children and supporting them and helping them, and then getting directly involved, calling the other parent, being upset with them, things of that
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah. A lot of friction there, I'm sure.
Yes, yes, there
But
is.
it could go the other way. Could be quite pleasant too, maybe.
Right. Yes, I have seen so many situations, and I always felt very lucky myself in terms of, when I got divorced, that where the grandparents really do remove themselves from being in the midst of the conflict, and they just remain as neutral parties as possible, love their grandchildren,
Mhm.
and honor and respect the other parents, even if they're upset with
Right.
them because the relationship didn't work out between their child and that parent. I've seen so many situations where grandparents and the grandchildren have a wonderful relationship
Mhm.
because all of the parents are involved in supporting that, and that's the most ideal situation, and typically what I see more than not. So I try to think of it
That's
also.
good.
Yes,
Yeah.
I try, and I think a lot of grandparents think of it this way too, that they don't want to risk the relationship with their grandchildren. They don't want it to be uncomfortable when they go to a dance recital or a baseball game or anything
Mhm.
else. So
Mhm.
so they work hard to try to create a good relationship with the other parents even after the divorce or separation, and they know that that's going to be good for the grandchildren. And they also are hopeful too, and sometimes I do see it work out, that even when the child is with the other parent for parenting time, that maybe that parent will drop them off at grandma and grandpa's for an overnight or things like that. So
Yeah.
that can be very beneficial to everybody.
Right, right. And it's, again, as I mentioned in the intro, it's not just the holiday season, whether it's Hanukkah, Christmas, but it could be any time of year or
Any
any occasion, or, you just mentioned a dance recital, could be a
Right,
graduation, could be any
right.
anything.
Right. I encourage people to look at it that this is a lifetime commitment to
Mhm.
these children. This is not just in the moment where everybody's emotions are heightened and everybody's upset with one another. But, whatever happens during those moments can be very difficult, but you've got to be looking at the long term and understanding that your ultimate goal is for the children to feel safe and secure with everybody around them, that they're free to love everybody around them freely and not have any sort of obstacles in the way of that. And
Mhm.
if that's the long term goal, you have to keep your eye on the ball and not let the little frustrations and anger in the beginning of the process take you away from that. And you've got to be thinking about weddings and graduations and everything. I sometimes tell parents, I want you to imagine yourself at your child's wedding one day, and these people are looking at me like, wow, my kid is too. I'm like, great, but imagine yourself at their wedding one day, that you want them to look at you and
Right.
say, thank you, mom and dad. Thank you, grandma, grandpa. We could all be in the room together, sharing this beautiful moment. I've never had to worry about having my whole family together, even
Right.
though it didn't work out between mom and dad, let's say.
Mhm.
But we're all together. There's no
Mhm.
arguing. We can all be in pictures and enjoy
Mhm.
this day together. That's really the ultimate goal of what you want.
Right. And I mean, during during the holidays, whatever holiday it is, it gets complicated with extended family and figuring out who's going where under normal circumstances even. Um,
Every circumstance, right, because we're used to dealing with things like, are you going to the in-laws, or are you
right,
coming to us? But
right.
now there's this whole new dimension, the parenting time schedule.
Mhm.
So I do advise to grandparents that they're sensitive to their adult children and their grandchildren about it, and they try to reach out in advance and say what will work for you,
Right.
rather than the children having to go back and argue with their ex about, well, my parents are having their celebration on this time and this date, and we have to be there then. And maybe they have a celebration at the same time with their family. And that's where it gets very complicated. So I urge
Right.
grandparents to offer to be flexible, offer to do it on a different day. I mean, nobody's going to know the difference if you celebrate Thanksgiving on Thursday versus
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And kids are more than happy to celebrate and eat and also have gifts more than one day.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
And then what happens if grandparents are out of town?
Right. So that can be complicated also.
Mhm.
Sometimes it can be very disappointing for grandparents because now the parents may be on alternating years of having their
Yeah.
children for extended vacation periods. So that may mean that it's going to be every other year instead of every year that you're going to see the grandchildren for Christmas or Hanukkah and or any other holiday that you're celebrating. And my suggestion is to try to appreciate and embrace the time you do have with them and maybe carve out different times of the year because that means if that person doesn't have their extended time over the December break,
Yeah.
maybe they have another break and maybe you do something creative that year. I mean, my feeling is it's always about having something to look forward to. So if
Mhm.
you're disappointed that something's not going to work out, then you have something else to look forward to share
Right.
in together.
Good point. Good point.
Right.
Okay. And for our viewers, how can people
Mm.
get a hold of you if they need your help and your
Okay.
services?
I'm easy to get a hold of. So my number is 248-330-5351. You can go to my website, which is www.coparentingsolutionsllc.com, or you can email me directly at jordana@coparentingsolutionsllc.com.
Okay, that's great. Now, there's so much more we could talk about, but we just kind of wanted to touch this time on the holidays,
Sure.
again, whatever holidays that is. But thank you for your advice, your professional tips and advice for people. And, we urge people to get a hold of you if they need
Thank
or want your
you.
services.
Thank
Definitely.
you. Thank you, and thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
as you can see, I'm happy to talk about this subject anytime. I'm very passionate about children having a low conflict life so that they can feel emotionally
Mhm.
healthy and grow in wonderful ways.
Oh, that's great. Well, you do good work, so keep it
Thank
up.
you. Thank you.
And to our viewers, we thank you for taking the time to join us at Gracefully Graying. And again, thanks to our sponsors. Find us on gracefullygraying.com. Check out all of our resources, interviews, directory, and on all of our social media platforms. So again, thank you. And until next time, this is Lori Bloom of Gracefully Graying.